5 years ago, I felt completely overwhelmed and confused. It was like my mind, and therefore I, was stuck in an endless loop with the same thoughts recurring hour after hour and day after day, without being able to escape that loop. That was until I discovered journaling. It completely changed how I process my thoughts and feelings and handle life. Let me share how I started, how the process evolved, and the value it added to my quality of life. When I was first introduced to journaling, my initial reaction was negative. This because in my mind, a journal was a record of events, and I confused it with the keeping of a diary, something I tried keeping when I was a teenager, and it felt like a waste of time. Jump forward a few years, I'm now an advocate of journaling. It is totally different. Journaling is the process of writing down my thoughts and emotions, an internal and very personal process, and at the present moment, not a record of my daily activities in the past. This, I believe, is a key point that is sometimes often underestimated and sometimes confused about journaling. My introduction to journaling took place during the time I was going through those difficult times. I was fortunate enough to be able to seek the advice of a professional. One of the first tasks I was asked to do was to start writing down anything that came to my mind, at least once a day for 5 minutes. No structure, no cues, whatever was on top of my mind. I set out to practice this early in the morning, about 6 a.m., with my first cup of coffee. Unknowingly to me, that turned out to be the best time for me using my journal even to this day. If I'd had a good night's sleep and I had an empty mind, when I woke up in the morning, I'd just start by greeting myself by name, followed by a description of the weather for the day, and then my mind would take over and I just started writing how I felt at that moment and if I had any concerns for the day. I was just writing whatever passed through my hand. No filters, no judging the thoughts or judging myself. If I had had a difficult night of sleep, I would start by making a note of why it was a difficult night and what thoughts and emotions kept me from falling asleep. As time went by, sometimes I'd journal twice a day. There were also times that I'd go to bed and a thought would pop up and trigger some unease or worry. Well, at that moment, instead of trying to bypass or short-circuit the anxiety, I would just get up, bring out my journal, fill in a few paragraphs, maybe even a few pages regarding the thought. And by the time I completed my entry, I felt calm and relaxed, going back to bed and falling asleep much easier and faster than it would have been just by ruminating and stressing as to why I could not fall asleep in the first place. Amazingly, day by day, journaling started feeling natural. One of the great benefits was to go back and read what I had written. By reviewing my journal entries on a weekly or sometimes a monthly basis, I was able to observe what thoughts and emotions had hijacked my mind's bandwidth. I would see patterns of thought and repetitive emotions. It was through this review that I was able to identify what I needed to question and possibly reframe or even change in terms of thoughts, emotions, attitudes, and beliefs. Week by week and month by month, I started feeling more relaxed, more in control of my thoughts and emotions, and eventually the negative, self-sabotaging, anxiety-inducing thoughts that were repeating themselves in my head occurred less and less. As I kept the habit, it became a necessity. In the 5 years that I have been journaling, I can sum up the following benefits that I have experienced. First, a sense of mental clarity. As I record thoughts and are processing them through writing, it helps me make better decisions. By reviewing my journal entries on a weekly or a monthly basis, I become more self-aware. And during the time I journal, I also feel more mindful, focusing on the present moment. Another benefit I get is emotional regulation. Journaling helps me reduce the stress and anxiety. The process of writing down my feelings helps me monitor my emotions, my emotional patterns, and the triggers and thoughts that cause those emotions. By being aware of this, I feel more in control. I also use my journal for expressing gratitude. This could be in the evening when I end my day, but there are times that I start in the morning with gratitude statements. I often use gratitude as a journal prompt in the morning. By expressing gratitude in the morning, it mentally sets up my day ahead with positive energy. Another benefit is brainstorming, problem solving. If, when I journal, I focus on writing about a specific problem I am facing, the reasons why I consider this a problem, and what options are available to me as a solution, it becomes much easier to solve the problem. Sometimes the solution comes during the journaling process, or sometimes while I'm reviewing my journal entry. If you are thinking about starting to journal, my opinion is to keep it simple. Maybe start with a brain dump, just writing down what is on top of your mind, first thing in the morning. Another option could be to start with a gratitude list in the evening before going to bed. Just write. No one is watching, no one is judging, and this is just for you, so just start writing. And as for how I use the journal in my sessions with a professional, it was the most relevant source of information of what topics we would discuss in depth and focus on and resolve. My journal became a mirror for what was happening in my internal world, mainly offering mental clarity and reducing stress and anxiety. However, as my habit of journaling continues, in addition to the above, it has morphed into a treasure trove of ideas and a place to set goals and brainstorm as to how I will achieve those goals. So maybe you should try journaling for just 1 week. You might be surprised at how much clearer your head feels and your emotions. If you already journal, let me know in the comments how it has helped you. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching.